this video is gonna go on both of our channels. So
Yeah.
why don't we, instead of it being the KMKanDrum show or the Rich Raw Dog show, let's call this the KMKanDrum and Rich Raw Dog show.
Okay. Easy enough. Easy name.
Yeah. So how's it going, man?
It's good. Happy Friday. Got off work a couple hours ago and been chilling. Yeah, we had a sick dog. One of our dogs was sick, so I
Oh
take care of
man,
him a little bit.
is he older in age?
No, he's only a puppy. He's like a year and a half. We think he ate something outside, he sometimes eats sticks and rocks and drinks out of fountains and so probably something to do with that. But yeah.
Yeah, sounds like normal puppy stuff.
Yeah, he's only a puppy. We had three dogs total. Two of them are older, 9 and 8, but then
Okay,
that one's just a pup. So
cool.
yeah.
What kind of dogs are they?
So we got one that's the oldest one is a Chihuahua. The I guess you call it the what is it? The deer head. We
Huh.
got this kind of a fluffy Chihuahua, and
Okay,
we have an oversized Yorkie. All
nice.
small dogs, and then this one is a mix. It was kind of a rescue dog. My wife's one of her coworkers kept bringing the dog to work, and she's like, "Why do you keep bringing the dog to work?" She's like, "I had no place else to take it," so she's like, "I'll take it off your hands." So he's like a mix, Shih Tzu, Chihuahua, a couple other things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a little it's called a Cavachon. So I guess it's a King Charles Cavalier and a Bichon Frise
Oh
mix.
yeah, I've heard of the Bichon Frise. Yeah.
Yeah. He's cool. He's hypoallergenic, so like I can like go like this to his fur and it doesn't come off.
Oh, that is good, man. We spend a lot of our time doing that with him and the Yorkie. Is my wife's either cutting their hair or grooming them or
Yeah.
vacuuming a lot. We just use a steam cleaner today, man. Yeah. The Chihuahua doesn't shed, surprisingly.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we can
Okay. Yeah.
we could talk about dogs probably all day, but
Sure.
I
I
think
know we
what
are at
people
time
are
limit.
coming to here to see is this whole thing that we're putting together. So I know you wanted to talk about a few things. You want to take the lead on it?
Yeah. I just made some notes. Okay. So I want to talk about first, give me your perspective. How did you come up with a theme week and how did we get involved with this in the first place?
Yeah, I
We've had
think
so many, right? We've had so many Punk Week, 80s Week, Metal March.
yep. I think it started when because I've been trying for a while now, maybe like 4 or 5 years to stick to a schedule. Everyone that I've talked to that I know has a YouTube channel says to try to stick to a schedule as much as possible. And for me, there's drummers out there that do a video a day, maybe even sometimes multiple videos a day.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just hard for me to keep up with that kind of thing. And I know they understand. And that's just like Earl is a great example, right? He just spits them out over and over and
yeah,
over again. And he doesn't care when you watch his covers, right? You don't have to watch them on the day that he puts them out.
right.
Um, but for me, I just try to like space it out. Um, just so like, I'm not like bombarding people with all of these videos and whatnot. But then was coming a time where I would just like record 4 or 5 covers in a day, and then it just felt inauthentic to schedule them out. Like uh, like if I did 5 covers and I scheduled them out for the next 5 weeks,
Yeah,
that fifth cover would feel so old. So then I was like, you know what? Maybe if I do like 5 Third Eye Blind covers, I'm just gonna do a Third Eye Blind week and just do one song every day of that week. And that's kind of how I came about that whole thing. It wasn't necessarily like a community thing. It was just for myself only. And then I think I started doing Punk Week, and you really took an interest in that. And
yeah,
it was like, oh well, let's just see where it goes. And see how many people want to actually do this punk week and do like a hashtag and all that stuff. And I think that's where the origin, at least from from my perspective, that's where it came from.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I remember it. Is I did see you doing these certain weeks and themes and stuff, and then of course when you hit Punk Week, I think I text you or whatever, say, well, I'm gonna do a couple also and make and for Punk Week, and it was kind of surprising to you. I remember, and you're like, oh, okay, great. But
Yeah,
I think after that, I think we went ahead and we're like, well, let's do this next and let's do that next. And what I like about it and our goal, I think, and I know you don't want to speak for you, but is to try to get more people involved, right?
yeah.
Because there's so many not just drummers but YouTubers out there that say, man, I'm running out of ideas.
Hmm.
Thank you, Rich and Kelly, for giving me, some motivation to get a cover done.
Yeah.
So that's a cool part of what you and I started, I think. Cool outcome. And the other thing is just, when we make these playlists, we make them public. You have said, man, I didn't even know about this person or that drummer, and I've done the same. When they jumped in and use the hashtag. So that's one of the good things that's happened out of this, and I hope we are able to continue it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see us slowing down at all. Like I think between the two of us, um, there's plenty of ideas to go around, and I'm sure and it's not just we're I don't think I mean just like I don't want to speak for you either, but I don't think either one of us is trying to be the CEO of YouTube Week. If
No,
other people
no,
want to come and
of course,
share
yeah,
ideas and whatnot, like we're totally open for that too. I
yeah,
think the more this whole movement kind of grows, the better it'll be for everybody. Because when I first started it, I had no idea that it was even going to be any sort of collaboration. It was just for the channel. And then when you suggested that you wanted to do some punk covers, I was like, oh man, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's great. And
yeah,
then to get to where it is now, I think it's awesome too. Like you said, there's so many drummers that I've met through these things that I probably would have never met before. I think
yeah,
it's amazing, just to the whole networking thing, because the community in and of itself is so great.
yeah.
Everybody's very positive. If there's any criticism, it's always usually constructive. Hardly ever get the trolls. They come in once in a while, but you
Once in
know
a while, yeah.
it's very extreme. It's the, what do you call it? It's the exception, not the rule. So
Well,
yeah.
Kelly, I'd like to segue a little bit to how did we come to want to do a soundtrack? Because, people have thrown out ideas and like, well, how about this soundtrack, that soundtrack? And how did we come up with Reality Bites movie soundtrack? Because I know that I'm a big fan of 90s movies, 90s music. If you look at my channel, that's a lot of what's on there is music from the 90s. So do you remember how we came up with this particular movie soundtrack?
Well, I think we had maybe like six or seven that we were kind of juggling around to see which one. We just threw them all up on the wall and see which one stuck. And this one I think stuck. Um I was leaning a little bit more towards the single soundtrack, just because
Yeah,
I'm so into all of those bands that are on that soundtrack.
yeah, that's a
But
great one.
I think this one just stuck because I think it has more of a variety. Singles is more geared towards the Seattle grunge scene and whatnot. This one,
Yes.
there's more variety. Um, I know I might be missing something. I might have forgotten why we actually chose it.
No, well, I think you're spot on because yeah, we could have just done like a grunge week, right? And it could have
Yeah,
included a lot of those songs off singles. But I know, living up here in the Seattle area, we call them the icons of grunge, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana. And we have like those theme, shows with the community musicians, and we do that stuff all the time. So, I mean, it would have been cool, but for me, I kind of already done that. We did back in October of 2023, we did the whole single soundtrack.
oh
It was
wow.
a rotating group of 22 musicians. And so for me, that's why I was like, well, let's pick something different. And then when you mentioned Reality Bites, I'm like, yeah, it's got 60s music. Well, not 60s, but it's got 70s music, 80s, and like 90s indie music in there. So a little bit of more of a variety than just the grunge theme, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a good first soundtrack because there's so many good soundtracks that we can do, but I think this is a
Yeah.
good first one to do.
So, dude, I got some notes. Maybe we should talk about the movie first. Let's
Okay.
maybe we talk about the movie first and what you remember about the movie, like how it impacted our society then versus now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it came out when I was probably about like 13 or 14, and I don't think I actually watched it
Yeah.
till I was maybe 17 or 18, something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
So it was already a couple of years old. Um, but I when I first watched it, and that coming of age, I think that's what the whole movie is about. Is it's like a coming of age type of thing where you're going through a generational shift. You're coming out of the 50s and the 60s and whatnot, and um, the kids are coming to age in the 90s, and there's a lot of liberal revolution going on, and I was all about that at the time. Like
Yeah.
just living free. There's marijuana usage in the movie, and
Right.
I was into that whole thing too, and
Okay.
so that movie spoke to me. And plus, I had a huge crush on Winona Ryder, so
Yeah.
you know that always draws you into to a movie. And then seeing, even though I didn't really like per se Ethan Hawke's voice, just seeing him, do the whole acoustic thing, the
Yeah.
singer songwriter thing, I thought that was really cool. So yeah, as a musician, you're drawn to movies like that have music in it, like not just music, the soundtrack, but music actually in the movie, someone playing and singing and stuff like that.
So back then, I did think it was a good movie, representative of what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and watching it today, it just makes me kind of chuckle to think of the things that were done back in the 90s, like with the phones, right? You
Mm.
remember the scene where she's paging her, Lalani Pierce? You don't see that now, right? That's
Yeah.
definitely 90s. And
Yeah.
then, having the cell phone bill with the psychic hotline,
Oh, yeah.
that's totally 90s. And one thing I remember, because, you know, for me, I was already in the Air Force active duty when that movie came out. So I think I spent half of the 90s overseas in Germany and the other half in New Jersey. Um, so for me, smoking in the bars,
Mhm.
everybody smoked in the bars, restaurant, didn't matter. That was just, people looked at you weird, like, what do you mean you don't smoke? You know, so that's something that watching the movie again, I'm like, wow, man, everybody in this, almost every scene has got a cigarette in their hand, you know?
Yeah, I
That-
I I smoked from 15 to, I want to say, like 36 or so. And I
yeah.
think the hardest thing about quitting wasn't quitting the actual smoking, but when you went to watch a movie, I mean, movies, I don't know how it is nowadays,
Yeah.
but the movies that I grew up with, there every other scene there's someone smoking.
Yeah.
And
That's
so you go to
90s
watch a
movies.
movie and you're trying to quit smoking and someone's smoking, it's like, ah.
Right. And then the fashion of the whole thing,
Yeah.
and for me, my favorite characters was Vicky, Jelaine
Yeah.
Garofalo used to be on
Mhm.
Saturday Night Live. I think she's hilarious still. And Steve Zahn's character,
Yeah.
you know, uh, I think they were definitely the comedy of the whole movie. Especially when she starts yelling at Leilani and says, "Hey, why don't you get off the couch? You've been running up a $400 phone bill. You don't have a job. What are you doing?" And then she said, "Hey, I'm just trying to get together with my life." And she goes, "Oh, did your psychic friend tell you that?" And
Yeah.
Steve Zahn just in the corner going,
Yeah. I remember
trying
that
not to
scene.
laugh, you know. And
Yeah,
so, yeah,
they
watching the
were.
movie with my wife, she laughs at that kind of scene. And also the ones where they're in the diner talking, and she's like, "I'm just so afraid that I got AIDS, and I'm going to be like the character on Melrose Place. We're going to be wearing chokers and halter tops and shit." So definitely she was the comedy part of that. I thought, her and Steve Zahn.
Yeah, and
Funny moments from Ben Stiller too. Ben Stiller, as we know, directed the movie, right?
I think that's his best when he's playing the a-hole. I think that's his best role.
Yeah.
He did the same thing in I think what was it, Happy Gilmore, where he was the guy in the old home old person's home.
Yes, old folks home with the big mustache.
Yeah.
And he was, yeah, yeah, yes, I remember his character there. That was funny.
Yeah,
Well,
he plays that role really well.
his mannerisms, and it's like he can't finish a sentence. He's like, I don't know, no, it's not what I mean, but So yeah, he definitely had the funny moments in that too. But yeah, so if you won't mind, we'll move on to some songs.
Yeah.
So the first song on the album soundtrack is My Sharona by the Knack, right? Came out in 1979. And do you remember the scene of the movie where My Sharona is played?
I don't. I was trying to think of I went through the list earlier today, and
Yeah.
really the only one that I can remember is Tempted, when they're in the car and they're singing along
Yes.
to it.
Yes, of course. That's a classic one. Well, My
Yeah.
Sharona is in the part where they're in the gas station. Remember, her dad gives her a gas card
Oh, yeah.
and she's
Okay.
totally broke. So they're like, well, we got no food in the house. And they go to the gas station and she just used her dad's gas card to buy a bunch of Pringles and sodas and shit. But so it's on the radio there, on the guy's little transistor radio, the guy working at the counter.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
right. Okay.
they go, can you turn this song up? And they all start dancing in the gas station. And of course, Ethan Hawke's character Troy is looking at him like, you guys are idiots. That was the scene of My Sharona. But the song itself, right? Bruce Gary was the drummer, awesome drummer. And for you drummers out there, if you have not seen his tutorial of how he came up with that beat or how he plays it, you should watch it. It came out in like 2004. Maybe we'll put a link down it later.
Yeah.
And he said it's based off of Going to a Go-Go, the song Going to a Go-Go by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. But he wanted to do flams, right?
Yeah.
It was more based on surf beat, because I had to realize this later, but back then, 60s, surf music, they hardly used cymbals. It was mostly, floor tom and snare when they're playing like this, the beat during the verses. So he kind of improvised on that.
Yeah. I mean, I love hearing stories like that, getting into drummers' minds and the composition part of a song and where they take their inspiration from. It really, like, if all drummers could do that, kind of like as a supplemental to releasing their album, I think two things that I've wanted my whole life. I've wanted one, a sort of behind the scenes, like, how they mic up athletes during like the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl. If I could hear what goes on in the locker rooms and what the refs are talking to the players, like, I would pay-per-view that type of stuff. So that's one thing. The other thing is I wish that I could have like a complete like access to how people come up with what they come up with when they're writing songs, whether it's a drum part or whether it's a vocal part or guitars or whatever, especially when it comes to guys like Danny Elfman who have like string arrangements and stuff like that. I really wish that.
You're right. It is super interesting. It's a must watch for me when I hear some of the songs that are kind of iconic, to hear people how they came up with the song or the ideas or what they went through or what they were thinking about. I do definitely enjoy that. So after watching that, of course, and then I was in a band a couple years ago, and they kind of made me learn it. And I was like, man, I got so burnt out on that song back in the day. I don't even want to play this, but it gave me so much more respect for that song. Learning it, I'm like, dang. And then watching his video. So now, there's thousands of covers of My Sharona out there on YouTube, right? If I see someone not doing the flams, I'm gonna like, nope, you're doing it totally wrong. And no, anyone can cover a song however they want, but it just makes me in the back of my mind like, nope, that's not how Bruce Gary did it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the flams are what kind of make it, because the whole reason for doing a flam is to accent the beat. You know, like if you're
Yeah,
not using the flam on that part, you're not it doesn't hit you in the chest.
yeah. I think we could have probably a whole episode on just My Sharona.
Yeah.
So the next song on the list is by Juliana Hatfield, "Spin the Bottle." What do you know about her?
I know she was kind of like a one-hit wonder. I can't remember what her hit was, but this song is actually really interesting because I think it's in 5. It's got like an odd meter, and
Yeah,
it's got that college radio feel. I dig it. Like, it's not something that I would normally listen to,
right.
but you know, that's another beautiful thing about doing these weeks and these soundtracks and whatever, is that you're kind of forced to listen to songs that you probably wouldn't listen to. And
Yeah.
it, you know, anything to expand your mind, I'm all for. So this is one of this song and the next song, the Bed of Roses song.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to talk quickly about Juliana Hatfield. So if you think about it, back in the '90s, they had bands like the Breeders
Mm-hmm.
and Belly, and Tanya Donnelly and all those people, and Juliana Hatfield and Sarah McLaughlin, and then they had the Lilith Fair. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
It was called the Lilith Fair. I think it came out like '96, '97. It was a tour when it's all female fronted kind of indie rockers. Um, so that's what I remember about Juliana Hatfield. And the hit song she had was called "My Sister."
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know what year that came out. Maybe before Reality Bites. I'm pretty sure it was. Do you remember what scene that song was played in the movie?
Nope.
Okay, so yeah, I made some notes, but so gets a job as a manager in the Gap, right? And
Yes.
remember, Lainey was going around the video and doing her documentary. So that song came on when she was saying, "Oh, I'm so happy to be manager, and look how well I'm folding the shirts and stuff." So anyway, I had to go back. I did. I had to go back a couple days ago and pick out where's the songs played in the scene. Some of them I can't find, but we'll get to that later.
Mm,
But yeah, Bed of Roses is next, right? Not
yeah.
the Bon Jovi Bed of Roses. Nothing to do with that one, right? Never
Yeah.
heard of this band before except for on this soundtrack. How about you?
No, never before. But it's really cool because they have I can't remember what the transition is, but there's a time where um the beat kind of speeds up a little bit. It's got like this, not it's not odd time, but it's just it's like a tempo change. And
Yeah.
the way that they do it, it's actually really cool. It's almost like you would miss it if you weren't paying attention. It's more of like a feel thing than anything else. But yeah,
Have you
they
tried to
also,
play it?
I haven't. I don't know
Okay.
if I don't know if I could you know, it takes a special talent, or at least, you know, you would have to at least play it maybe um a handful of times before you can actually like get that timing right.
Because I've been listening to the soundtrack a lot in my car to and from work, so I'll have to listen for what you're talking about next time I put it in and listen
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of songs that I've done before where the tempo speeds up and then slows back down, like in this song. And those are probably the most challenging songs to do because, you know, especially when you're playing along to a song. And for the past year or so, I've been doing Moises, and you know how they add the click track to it.
Yeah.
Um, it's just automatic to me that, you know, the tempo is going to be the same the whole song. So whenever I get to a song that has a tempo that shifts, that's probably the most challenging thing. So this song is probably a pretty challenging one to do.
So this one, I had to rewind the VHS tape again to see where they played it, right?
You
And
got a
so
VHS, huh?
if you remember, if you remember the scene where Troy just had his first set at the bar, and then him and Laney are kind of arguing in the back room.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
So then that's when the Bed of Roses comes on in between
Okay.
his sets, right? And so what song, not on the soundtrack, the official soundtrack, but what song did he play? You remember in the bar?
Oh man.
He started to play it, and he goes, "Laney, this is for you," and he was playing "Add It Up" by Violent Femmes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she runs out, and he runs after her and tells the band members continue with the instrumental. I don't know. I just watched this 2 days ago, so that's why it's more fresh for me, I guess.
It's funny because I try to watch it maybe about, I would say, a week ago or so. Maybe it
Yeah,
was a little bit longer. And it's just it's not one of those movies that sticks with me, or that has stuck through time.
yeah.
Um, there's been a couple of movies that I've rewatched lately, that are still just great movies. But that one, like, I was all jazzed. I was like, yeah, we're doing Reality Bites week. I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna watch this movie. And then maybe 20 minutes in, I was like, I'm not really feeling it.
I, I'll say the same thing about single soundtrack. I think the soundtrack far outweighs the movie.
Hmm.
Is much better than the movies for me anyway. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
mean, I loved the movie when I first saw it. Like,
yeah,
it was one of those movies that spoke to me. Like, I was going through basically the same things that they were going through, and
right.
just now, like, it has less to do about the movie and more to do about me. When I look back in my past and all the stupid mistakes that I've made, and
Oh,
it's like, that's me watching the movie. I'm like not interested in it because it reminds me of me being
I'm
dumb and
with
dumb.
you. I'm telling you, yeah, I had a lot of personal turmoil in the 90s myself, but I definitely remember a lot of the music the best, and maybe
Yes.
that's why, because I was going through much in my personal life, and maybe that's why I kind of leaned into music more, to get me through that kind of thing, or that all the things that was going on. But
Yeah.
moving on to the next song, but also I want to say, so we said, here's a bonus track for you, Added Up, Blister in the Sun. But there's other songs in there that are not on the official soundtrack, and I would just throw this out to anyone: cover that too. Who cares if it's in the movie and you want to cover it? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but the next one up is the one that's probably the theme song for the movie. Is When
Yeah.
You Come Back to Me by World Party, and this one was played, when Lainey's getting up to go to work and she doesn't have a coffee filter, putting toilet paper in the coffee maker to make it.
So,
And Troy's leaving, some girl's house, and she hands him a number, and stuff that was going on. That was kind of like the theme of the movie, and it's played again at the end of the movie,
hmm.
when the dad is on the answer machine saying, "You ran up a $900 bill on my gas card."
Huh.
So
Yeah, I don't remember it being on that
yeah,
part.
it's in there twice.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't
Hmm.
realize that too until I rewatched it. But it's in there twice. It's at that towards the beginning, and then at the very end before the credits. Um, but that song to me is awesome. A lot of orchestration in there. You got a lot of horns in there, piano. It's like a huge orchestra kind of song. But I never knew anything about this band World Party except for this song.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of these bands, not a lot, but the ones that are on there that aren't like household names like U2 and Lenny Kravitz, I think a lot of people probably don't even know who Juliana Hatfield 3 is either. So
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this song is when they had that scene. Now, the next one that's on the official soundtrack is "Going, Going, Gone" by the Posies. You heard of that band?
I think I've heard of them, but I've never actually. There's a
So they
lot of
were
bands where,
kind of
yeah.
a lesser known grunge band from the Seattle area. They're actually from Bellingham, Washington. So I had one of their CDs back in the day. I think they had one song called "Dream of You." Um, but when I saw this one on there, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I might do this one," because I like the grunge and stuff like that. So they were kind of the lesser known grunge band lumped in with that scene back then. And if you remember the movie, at the end, so it appears that she's got her documentary made on that channel or whatever. And so now these fictional characters are playing her and Troy. And it's Evan Dando from the Lemonheads. You know who that guy is?
Oh, huh. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Anyway, it's the very end of the movie. You think it's over, and it's a cut scene to that, and that's when the song by the Posies is playing, "Going, Going, Gone." I really like the song. But I like the Posies as well.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I've never really heard of them other than this song, so that's awesome.
Yeah, like I said, lesser known in the grunge realm back in the '90s. Um, okay, the next song was probably the iconic song of the movie, which "Stay." I Missed
Mm-hmm.
You by Lisa Loeb and Nine Stories. But tell me what you think about that song overall.
Man, I remember hearing it for the first time on K Rock back in Los Angeles, and that was one of the you always know when you first hear a song within the first maybe 30 seconds, you know it's gonna be an instant classic, and that was one of the
Yeah.
songs. And so when I first heard it, it was just so like emotional and raw, and you could tell like it's almost like it had the same effect as when I first heard Mazzy Star. Just the emotion,
Oh, Mazzy Star.
it just like
Yeah.
pours through, and you know it's just going to be a great song. And it's a shame that she wasn't bigger than she was. Like this song really propelled her, but she really didn't have much
It's,
after that.
I would say pretty much a one hit wonder.
Yeah,
Um, but what I did not realize was she had no album. This
yeah,
Ethan Hawke apparently heard this song somewhere and asked Ben Stiller to put it in the movie.
yeah. I
So
read
it's
that somewhere.
only
Yeah,
only played in the closing credits. It's not play. I couldn't find it anywhere else in the movie except for the closing credits. Um, but she didn't even have an album out. I was told it was just a single. And then
yeah.
after, of course,
I heard that she was writing for some she was trying to write for some other artist, and
oh,
she
okay.
wrote that song for that artist. I can't remember who it was, but he turned it down, and so then she started shopping it around, and I guess she found Ben Stiller or Ethan Hawke found it.
We'll do more research, or
Yeah,
if you know out there, put it in the comments of what was the story with that.
yeah.
But yeah, great song. Um, I'm covering it, doing a collaboration with Chris Bates on it. I know
I'm
other
covering
people
it.
have said they want to do it as well. I think you might be doing this song as
Yeah,
well, aren't you?
I'm doing it too. Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably the most popular song. But I mean, that's the one that people remember from the movie. I think is this
Yeah,
song.
and it's just a great drum song too. I think the drums are
Yeah,
so raw and clear. It's
and here again, this is one of these. Listening to the soundtrack again that I didn't think it was until I listened to it again. And like, yeah, okay, this is a cool song for drums because I was thinking that's not much drums in it, but it is subtle, but it's a good groove, right?
yeah, yeah, totally.
Next, what we got next? We got
It's like
one of your favorites, you
you
too.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I love. I actually I like the song a lot. I just I'm not a big Bono fan, but
yeah.
anything before what was their '90s their early '90s album?
Well, this
One
was
was
it.
it
I think
one?
Octung Baby.
Octung Baby? No,
This
not
is
Octung.
this. Well, this is on it, right? So it's Mysterious
Yeah,
Ways was probably a bigger hit from this album.
yeah. That's anything after that album. I think I kind of just like
Yeah, same here. I mean, seeing them on MTV as a kid in the '80s and coming out with "I Will Follow" and New Year's Day and Sunday Bloody Sunday and all those classics, and then into Joshua Tree album and that kind of stuff. I was really into them. And Rattle and Hum, I used to have that. I think I do have it on vinyl still. But I think after this album, the Octung Baby, I stopped. I really didn't listen to them that much.
yeah, same.
Not really into what they had going on. They had that one song. When was it? Few years back, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Vertigo. I don't know how long ago that song was. Maybe it was
Oh
'90s.
yeah, yeah.
That was a good song. But yeah, for the movie though, this one would be good for somebody to cover vocals, acoustic guitar, maybe. Drums, there's some drums in there, but it doesn't come in till like halfway through, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to say anyone who's not a drummer, this isn't just for drummers. Like this is any kind of instrument.
Yeah. And do you remember what part of the movie this song is in?
Nope. I suck.
Okay, sorry. um, okay, so Troy goes to the airport, needs, whatever. And then she gets worried. She goes looking for him, can't find him, goes all over the place looking for him. Then this song is playing.
Okay.
And then they finally come back together at the end. He gets dropped off in a taxi and he said, "Oh, I was in Chicago. My dad passed away and this and that. And I really missed you." Then that's when the sappy love part, came in with the part my wife liked. But yeah, that's when that song is playing. All I Want Is You by U2. Great song.
Yep.
Yeah, I encourage anyone to try to cover it. So,
okay. Where were we?
all right. We were talking about the next Crowded House, Australian band.
Yep.
Formed from the band Split Enz. Did you ever hear about them?
No.
No, okay. Split Enz was a band. They had a song called I Got You. I think came out early 80s. But then we wanted to form Crowded House. So I really like this song. It's at the part where I guess some other part where she's working at the Gap and she goes to pick her up right before the Tempted scene, right before the scene where they play Tempted. They play this song, but they also play another song in the movie by Crowded House called Something So Wrong.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right. I think that's the name of it. Yeah.
So that song's not on the official soundtrack?
Not on the official soundtrack. It's being played. I think during when they're showing the video, like his version of her video, and it's in there somewhere. That's Something So Wrong. Is that what it's called?
Something So Strong, I think.
Yeah, Something So Strong. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, they had a lot of good songs. Don't Dream It's Over, that's a great song, but yeah, Crowded House, love it. That was that song. I encourage people to do that one. And if you want to do Something So Strong, do that too. The next one is the Lenny Kravitz Spinning Around Over You. I think that came out early 90s, 92 or something, but yeah, I didn't get into too much Lenny Kravitz. I know a lot of people have covered the song "Are You Gonna Go My Way." But this is a cool song, right? It starts out with drums.
Yeah, I like this song. I'm. It's weird. I like all of Lenny Kravitz's songs that I've heard. I just never really got into them. I like what I've heard, but I haven't dug into his discography or anything.
Yeah, kind of the same with me. I've never really bought any of his CDs or downloaded any of his music, but I know a couple of his songs, and when you see him live on video, it looks like he put on a great show.
Yeah. I was in a band where the singer was his backup singer.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's cool little connection. That's my life, man. I'm in bands with other people that have been in other bands. I've never actually made it myself.
Like the 7 degrees of separation. Yeah. 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, but you've lived a charmed life with all the people that you've met and bands that you played in, though. It's been, you've done a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, man. I don't regret anything. I wouldn't change it for the world, and especially where I'm at now. I'm definitely blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got.
Got the
Ethan
next
Hawke
song. That's the next song is the Ethan Hawke "I'm Nuthin."
Oh yeah, there is drums. I remember.
Yeah, there is drums on that after the first verse, I think.
Yeah. It's actually I like the song. He vocal as a vocalist, I think he does a couple of things that are how would I describe it? Kind of not rudimentary, but like in intro level vocalist. Like the
Oh,
way that he
okay.
does some of his inflections in his voice is someone that like I would imagine is first starting to like try to write music. But it only happens a couple of times in the song, and other than that, I really like the grit in his voice. I wouldn't really like hearing like watching him and hearing him talk, and I wouldn't think it would be that raspy.
Yeah, yeah. Some people are like that. You don't their voice doesn't talk speaking voice doesn't match their singing voice.
Yeah.
If I was thinking about this, and it kind of sounds to me like a cross between Eddie Vedder and Bruce Springsteen, if you can
Yeah,
imagine that. So
yeah,
that's
that's a
that's the
good.
kind of vocal I think he has. Sometimes I'm thinking he's got a little Springsteen in there, but then he's more trying to be more like Eddie Vedder, I think.
Yeah, there's man, that's like two very ends of the coast too.
Yeah, but I guess that's when I listen to that song, that's what I hear. Some little bits of both of those in there. And of course, that's in the scene at the bar and stuff, and
Hmm. Yeah.
has a band, which I thought was cool. Um, Hopefully, people cover that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Uh,
the drums are actually kind of cool in that song.
yeah, they actually are. Comes in with the chorus, I think. The drums crash, crash, damn. You know, the next one up is Turnip Farm by Dinosaur Jr. This is during the scene where they're smoking weed out of that can in the apartment. I don't know
Hmm.
if you remember that, but that's Turnip Farm. So it's on the album called Where You Been. And I'm still a big fan of Dinosaur Jr., but I guess for me, I got to be in a mood to listen to them,
Yeah, totally.
because a lot of their songs are, guitar centric, like, you know, Fish or,
Hmm.
Grateful Dead or something like that. It reminds me of that. Um, Even though he's more indie, kind of Smashing Pumpkins ish, and with some of his songs. And then a lot of people don't like, Jay Masca's vocals because he just sounds so depressing and so low toned. Um, but yeah, I like Dinosaur Jr. I had to be in a mood for it. Turnip Farm is about a 5.5 minute song, but it's got some good drums in it. Uh,
Yep.
Great guitar in it. If any guitar players want to cover it,
Yeah. Yep, totally. I mean, I just there's another one of those bands where yeah, I just never what I've heard from them I like, but I just never really studied up on them.
yeah, I've covered a couple of their songs. A lot of people have covered the song "Feel the Pain." You know that one.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people covered that one. I've covered one off the same album, but I forget which one it was. Moving on to okay, that's the next song on the album, which I tried to research about this band. The band's called Me Fi Me, Phime. Um, Only thing I found out was they were a Chicago hip hop band, and they made one album, and I guess this song was on it.
Huh. Yeah, I
But
mean,
the songs, yeah,
I
I didn't know too much else about it.
I don't even think it's not ringing a bell to me. I don't know if I've even listened to this song. Huh.
Yeah, it's a hip hop kind of rap song, um, right before Tempted. But yeah, it's got a cool groove to it if you listen to it, you know. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot about this band, and then I honestly, after rewatching the movie, I'm listening for where's this song coming in. I couldn't find it, but it's probably there, but I
Hmm.
didn't know where it was in the movie. And it could have been one of those, because I'm sure that the soundtracks are made way after the movie's done, right? So whoever
Yeah,
gets together, maybe the record companies or something, says, "Hey, I'll throw you a couple bucks if you throw this song on there,"
that's true.
I'm sure that happens. It's just like some of the songs that were actually in the movie that didn't make the soundtrack. So,
Yeah.
and so the next one up is Tempted. Squeeze came out in the '80s. I definitely remember the video. Remember the video with the what's it, Paul? Man, what's the singer's name? Paul. You know it.
Paul Carrick.
Yes, Paul Carrick, and he went on to be the singer for Mike and the Mechanics, right?
Yep.
But I heard that he, before this song, you know, they have the other singers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other singers. So then at first, some of them were kind of like not happy that he got the lead vocal on this one.
Yeah. It was what Elvis Costello's call.
Oh, okay.
He was producing the record, and he was the one that said Paul Carrick should sing this song.
Oh,
And
okay.
I forgot the other singer's name, but he wasn't happy. But once he heard the recording, he's like, okay, yeah, it's better.
Yeah. And I remember the video where they just got those girls up standing on the bar, standing in the back, just dancing, no backup vocals. But yeah, yeah, it's epic song. You know, the scene in the movie is, you know, when they're picking each other up or picked her up from work or whatever, driving in the old BMW. Of course, they both got cigarettes hanging out of their mouth while they're
Yeah.
singing along on the radio. And then she throws the cigarette butt, remember, into
Yep.
his car, and he slams into her, and that's how they met.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great part of the movie too.
Was he on that old block cell phone?
Yeah, yeah. On that you're right. Yeah, definitely '90s stuff, right?
Yep.
And of course, back then, nobody had that unless you were rich. You know.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, nobody had a car phone. You know. Now we can't even think about. What do you mean I can't hook up my phone in the car? Yeah.
Crazy.
Now we get upset if, oh man, my CarPlay won't work. You
Yeah, totally.
know, where's my Apple CarPlay? Why this car sucks? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tempted. That's a great song. And the final song is Big Mountain version of Peter Frampton's "Baby I Love Your Way." Right?
Yeah, I love both versions.
Yes. So in the movie, it is Peter Frampton's version, right?
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So in the movie, it's Peter Frampton's version, and that's when they're, I guess, sitting in his convertible and they're drinking the big gulps. I guess it was their first date or whatever with Ben Stiller's character and Winona Ryder.
And doesn't Ethan
Um,
Hawke later on
and
like,
he
maybe
walks
I
by
love your
him.
way.
Yeah, exactly. He walks by him, but oh yeah, that's when they get back to the apartment. He makes
Yeah,
fun of him with
yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah, but it was actually Peter Frampton in the movie. But Big Mountain definitely is a reggae version.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of covers of it, a lot of drum covers of this. I guess you have to have that Stuart Copeland snare like I got it tuned really
Oh
super
yeah.
high to play that, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about doing it. I don't know if let's see, we've got 7 days.
Yeah, man.
I might be able to
You
squeeze it
got
out.
plenty of time. Yeah, I've seen you. You. What song was it? It was the Smiths, and you were like, "I've never played this before." But then you're like, "I'm gonna go down to my basement. I'm gonna play it right now." And you
Yeah.
played it and recorded it, and we ended up doing the collab on it with that cut that you did.
I
I'm
actually
like,
did
that's
the
a
same thing today. I was geeking out on my uncle, and I was like, I'm gonna Wikipedia. He's got a list of his whole discography, or like the artists that he's played with. And so I was going down the list, and I was like, what haven't I listened to? And I haven't listened to any of the Vince Gill stuff that he's on. So I went today and I geeked out on some Vince Gill, and I was like, oh, this is actually really, really good. Like it's country, but I think it transcends country. It's just great songwriting. And so I was drawn to two songs in particular, and I was like, all right, let me listen to if they would have given me the song that I chose today on Drumeo, I would have nailed it.
oh wow. You
But
should be
yeah,
on there because I've seen you do stuff like that where I don't know how you do it because I have to practice my ass off for any song and listen to it countless times. But you can just hear a song a few times and go downstairs and play it.
only sometimes it's got to be the format that I'm used to.
Okay.
As like a someone who's been in original bands that have written songs and whatnot. There's a certain formula that um I don't know, it's already programmed inside of me for some reason. Because if a song doesn't have that, like for instance, one song that I probably practiced for months was it was dang it, I can't remember what is their name. They used to be at the drive-in. Well, who's that? What's that band that
Oh, at the drive-in, Mars Volta.
Mars Volta? So
Yeah.
one of their songs, it took me maybe 3 or 4 months to practice it because
Oh
their
yeah, I remember when you
formulas
did
are
that.
all
I
over the
remember
place.
that cover. That was amazing. Yeah, that's some intricate stuff though. You know, yeah, anyone would have to practice that. If you did that, just listening to it, I would just be like, you're not human, dude.
Yeah, no way. I mean, those guys on Drumeo are insane.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Well,
What was the one of the latest ones that I saw? Man,
was it 6 Samus?
yeah, yes.
He's
When he
awesome,
said,
man.
"I've never heard this Led Zeppelin song before," I'm like, what? Are you serious? And it was Achilles' Last Stand, which is a super long song, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
thought it was so cool how he's a metal drummer, so he threw in the double bass and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Definitely didn't
cool.
play it Bonham style.
Yeah, no, it's cool like seeing these guys not only um use their own style in the song, but the way that they break the song down, like the way Thomas Lang breaks the song down, or the way I love Greg Bissonette, man.
Oh yeah, Greg Bissonette. Yeah,
He's such a lovely guy when you're watching. Like you just want to be in the room like there talking to him. But the way he like charts out his songs, it's so cool, man. I just
he
love.
just did the recent one with System of a Down, right? I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that
yeah, it
one.
was amazing. And then I watched, the song "Mr. Brightside" by the Killers,
Yeah,
right?
uh-huh.
Okay, so the drummer for Megadeth,
I
Dirk,
saw that one too. Yeah,
he saw, yeah,
yeah.
he played it. He played it like a ballad. He played it kind of slow, which is really, I thought it was awesome like that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and
man,
what the best part about those videos is when you get to see the personality of the drummer. Like seeing Greg Bissonette. I know he was like a good friend of my uncle's actually. I never got to meet him. So
wow, really?
seeing his that side of him and how like humble he is. Like when he did his version of the System of a Down song and then he heard the original version, he's like, that's why that's why John Damalian's in the System of a Down. That's why I'm not. And he's like, it's
Yeah,
way better. His version is way better. It's like, dude, you're Greg Bissonette.
I know, amazing. Yeah, you should do something like that too. Free channel. Have somebody challenge you. This is
Oh man, that would
doing that
be
with these covers, and this is what I want to talk about also. This is a cover challenge. We don't want someone to just say, you know what, I covered my Sharona 6 years ago. I'm just going to hashtag it and throw it in there. But
yeah.
that's not what the purpose is. The purpose is, kind of a challenge to say, maybe you haven't heard this song, or maybe, or do a remake of it and see how you're doing in 2024 with this song, and then do the hashtag. That's cool. But what I like is like what we've been talking about, where we go through this list of songs, like, wow, that would be a cool one to do, or I never really understood the drum parts until I listened to it a few times. And that's what we want people to do. And then go learn it, cover it, post it, and do all that. That's, I think, what's one of the cool things about these cover challenges in the theme weeks.
Yeah, yeah, it keeps things fresh too. Like the thing about hashtagging, and then I get it, you want more people to view, you want more views on the videos that you already have and whatnot. But I think just when you set out to do something new, like I've already done Tempted, right? I've already done Stay as well. But I mean, it's to me, it's just like a lazy way of being a
Yeah,
part of it,
it's hitting
like
it's hitting the easy button. It's just hitting
yeah,
the easy button, right?
like right now, like I don't know if you want to announce this, but you and I are doing Tempted as a collab, and that to me is way more fun than just hashtagging my old Tempted cover.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, agree. I could have done that, for with a lot of these videos, but instead I would pick some different song that I hadn't done before, or
Mm,
if it's one I had done before, I'd do a remake of it,
yeah,
just for that theme week. So that's what we hope people will do, and we don't want anybody to be intimidated because to say, oh, I don't have time to do it, or we started promoing this back in 2 months ago, right?
yeah. 2 months, guys. Come on.
2 months ago. But I understand, maybe that's why I kind of put that poll out. You never know what polls are going to do, or how much
Yeah,
you should trust them. But Um, we got, you know, probably 50-50 that say yes or no. They're going to participate. But I've had also more people, you know, contact me on other social media to say, hey, is this song available? And I'm like, no, we were doing that for the police. We listed songs and we wanted somebody to pick a song, and then that's your song for the week. But in this one, um, just whatever song anybody wants to do. I think you mentioned it in an earlier promo. No rules, right?
Yeah, yeah, no rules.
No rules. Just anything on the soundtrack, or you know, like we just mentioned, anything that's in the movie that may not have made the soundtrack. You want to do the Salt and Pepper song? You
Oh
want to throw
yeah,
that
that's
in there?
right.
Do that one too. But that's just the fun part of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's I'm looking forward to actually because I think you were saying one of the songs is going to be like 4 or 5. I think it was Stay. There's going to be 4 or 5 different covers.
Yeah,
I'm actually excited for that. I want to see the different
yeah,
takes that everyone's going to be doing for that song.
yeah. And there's going to probably be at least 3 My Sharona covers.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And that song is so what do you call it? It's so unique. That beat is so unique that I'm
Yeah.
sure we're going to get different variations of it.
Yes. Yes. And even though I said, you know, I'm going to cringe if you don't play the flams, but if you want to, you can play it however you want to. I'm just saying. Um, but yeah, play it however you want to. Throw in your own style to it. You know, do like Kelly does, drums and vocals, or
Yeah.
do the guitar of it. I played it in a band 2 years ago, 2022, and my guitar player, he said it took him a really long time to learn that lead
Huh. Oh
for
yeah.
My Sharona. He's like, that is a super hard lead to learn. So he had to really get that part down. But every time we played it live, people went crazy. You know,
Mhm.
people still love that song, even though it's back from 1979.
Yeah, it's one that sticks, man. That song, even to this, I actually listened to it a couple of days ago, and I was just kind of zoning in on the drums. And to me, there's an element of jazz in there as well. I know you were talking about surf and
Yeah,
uh and all, but I hear a lot of jazz influence. I would bet that he started off playing jazz.
yeah, he probably did. Bruce Gary. Yeah,
He's yeah, that those the drums, the everything about that song, the drums sound, the performance, the dynamics, the parts that he wrote, man, it's perfect. It's definitely their masterpiece.
it is.
So yeah,
Back in the early '80s, though, you didn't want to hear it anymore because they played it on the radio way too much.
totally.
But it's
Yeah.
like that with a lot of songs for me, you know. And I'm like, man, I used to couldn't stand that song. I'd switch the radio if it came on. But you listen to it, you know, 40 years later, and you're like, you know what, that really is a great song, you know. So that's the way it is with music, right?
Man, 40 years. That's crazy.
Yep. So should we wrap this up? What else you
Yeah.
got?
Um, all I want to say is, this thing that we try to do, um, it's for the community. Now, it might not have started that way, but because Rich took the initiative to start collaborating with Punk Week, and then wanting to do Metal March and 80s Week and all of that, to see people come together as a community and try to get something going. It doesn't necessarily have to do with what specific soundtrack or what specific genre we pick. It's just trying to be a part of the community. Like, I'm not a metal drummer, like I'm if if uh if I had to rank metal on the things that I like to play, it'd probably be close to the bottom. But I had a
Yeah,
blast doing Metal
yeah,
March, and it's just getting out of that comfort zone, and you might be a little bit intimidated, like, oh man, I'm gonna have to do double bass, I'm gonna have to learn all these intricate parts and whatnot. But once you learn them and once you record them and once they're like good enough for you to like put out there, you feel good about it. I'm looking forward to next March. I'm looking forward
So
to
true.
next um whatever it is that we like. Punk week, yeah, punk is in my blood. I can play punk in my sleep. But if we start doing something else like hip hop week or country week or whatever, those are completely out of my comfort
Yeah.
zone,
Yeah.
so but after doing Metal March, I'm not intimidated or afraid to try to do that. And then once you do, and you become part of this community that you didn't think that you would be able to be a part of, it's just so rewarding and satisfying.
Very well said, my friend. I want to piggyback on that to just say yes, please, yes, try that, because a lot of people are maybe intermediate, maybe novice drummers. None of us are professionals really, except for probably you, Kelly, but because you played professionally before. But
Was,
so yeah, so to all the drummers who might not think they have the chops to do it, you just try it. You're going to get nothing but support from me, from Kelly, from so many others to say, you know what, at least you're trying this and keep it up.
yeah,
So I just encourage everyone to do that.
totally. Yeah, especially if you're not comfortable with these songs, or especially if
Yeah.
you're just a beginner drummer or whatever. This is a good way to test, whether you have it in you to take that next step in your playing and whatnot. So
Yeah.
because we're not gonna, at least as far as I'm concerned, and I'm pretty sure as far as you're concerned, Rich, we're not gonna be those types of guys that just troll and say,
Of
did you see
course
that
not.
comment that Eric got?
Oh
Learn the
yeah, yeah.
track or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's terrible. Dramatic.
Yeah, we're not gonna be like that. If anything, it'll be constructive. We'll all learn something from it. And yeah, it's just being part of the community and being part of a team, I think.
Yep. Trying new things too.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you who've never tried sushi, man, it's like trying your first bite of sushi and you're like, oh wow, this is actually really good.
Yeah. Good comparison.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, man.
All right. I'm glad we got to chat. And
We should do this more
big
often.
plug 20th of September.
Yep.
Cover Reality Bites 24. Use the hashtag. Tag my channel. Tag Kelly's channel. Um, get some covers in from the soundtrack. You know, that's all I got.
Yeah, and then we don't have anything planned, but I'm sure within the next couple of weeks or maybe even days we'll come up with something. And but for right now the focus is this one right here, Reality
Yeah,
Bites.
Reality Bites, and then again, I'm gonna put the soundtrack out on my channel. It's not soundtrack, the playlist of everyone's covers. And it'll be out on my channel, going public on 27 September. And please tune into that and support everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait, man.
Yes.
It's 1 week from today actually, right?
Yep. Yeah. 1 week from today. I still got a couple more I'm going to work on. Maybe I'm going to at least get one more done before next Friday.
Cool, man. I can't wait. Let's do it, guys. Come on.
All right.
All righty, Rich. Take care, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. We'll talk to you later.
All righty. Bye.
Okay.